Well, thanks for the warm welcome.
Growing up, Vivek Ramaswamy had a strict piano teacher, but he knew if he got her going on one particular topic of conversation, he might be able to avoid getting called out for not practicing enough.
It was a deflection we could use. One thing that would throw her off her tilt is if we started getting her talking about politics on a day where we hadn't practiced very much. She would, 10 minutes of the half hour would be spent on talking about that topic, which means 10 minutes less of getting in trouble for not having practice. So we thought we were really clever about that. But, a little while in, she said, I know what you're doing. I know exactly what you're doing. You haven't practiced this week. And so the next week she came and she actually brought a biography of Ronald Reagan. And she gave it to me as in high school then, as an assignment to read it, sort of as a friendly disciplining of saying, I know the tricks you're playing on me, why don't you read this? And that actually have had a big influence on my life.
As the son of Indian immigrants, Ramaswamy watched his parents work hard to create a new life in America. His father, an engineer, at one point retraining as a lawyer to keep his job at GE, bringing young Vivek with him to law school at night.
We would argue in the car rides on the way back, and I realized he was teaching a sixth grader and how to engage. What did he learn in the law class? So my dad would be railing against Antonin Scalia or Clarence Thomas, and so I, as a 12-year-old, would take the other side of those arguments.
I would have loved that.
Oh, that was fun. It was awesome, actually, and so I got engaged as a young person. But actually, the real lesson I learned was that he didn't let the hardship turn him into a victim.
Ramaswamy and his wife Apurva faced their own hardship after the birth of their first son, Karthik, in 2020. Apurva is a throat surgeon. Right as they became parents, the COVID-19 pandemic turned their lives upside down.
She was finishing her residency, her final year of training in New York City. This was in February of 2020. He was born on February 23rd, right on the eve of that first wave of the COVID pandemic in New York. And that first wave was really something significant in New York City. And she's an airway surgeon. That's her specialty. So she gave birth on February 23rd. And she was entitled to maternity leave as long as she needed. But 3 weeks in, the hospital was short-staffed. And her skill set made a difference. And so she went back and decided it was her duty to go back. At that point, nobody knew what this virus was. Are you exposed to infants or not? Now we know a lot more than we did back then. But back then, the idea was if you were near a newborn infant, it's a complete unknown, completely stay away. She felt called by her duty to do her job, serving on the front line as an airway surgeon. She got sick. Her father's also a surgeon. He got sick. He ended up in the ICU. That responsibility then fell on me for a couple of months to take care of our first son in Cincinnati. And so I was a biotech CEO, but took a little bit of time and took a step back, watching Apurva step up and do what she saw to be her duty at that time.
Ramaswamy describes himself as a tennis fanatic, but as someone seeking support from voters who tend to be on the older side, he tries to avoid the topic of pickleball.
I will say that I'm a bit of a purist, and while I respect the right of people to play pickleball, that doesn't mean that I have to like the conversion of tennis courts across this country into pickleball courts, which makes it a lot harder to find a tennis court. But I'm happy that, at least it's a fun new sport people have taken up.
Even if he is steering clear of the tennis versus pickleball wars, Ramaswamy does enjoy a good debate and prefers being around people of diverse viewpoints.
I went to a majority black school, or close to majority blacks, majority minorities, certainly through 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, middle school. I went to a Jesuit high school, St. X High School in Cincinnati, where I was the lone Hindu student amongst all-boys Catholic high school. So I've had, and both were great experiences in different ways. I took different things away from them. And so I've had in some ways the blessing, I do consider it a blessing, of frequently being the odd man out a little bit. So much so that that's kind of where I've become most comfortable, is being a little bit contrarian, not being the person who, I'm probably least naturally comfortable and settled if I'm just in a group of people who have the same background as I do, agreeing with everything I do.
When it comes to engaging with media, Ramaswamy loves going on podcasts, which he sees as a big part of the future.
We were joking around that maybe I should be the first president who has a at least a once-a-week podcast, the modern version of a fireside chat, right? They used to do fireside chats. We can catch up with our moment and reach more people that way. And yeah, it's one of the things I'm committed to doing through the rest of this too, is learning. Not just delivering a message, but creating the space to continually learn through that process too.